Jujutsu Kaisen. Chapter 267 came out, and it was a very exciting chapter of the final arc of JJK. After this chapter, there are only 4 chapters remaining in the JJK. The battle between Yuji and Sukuna is on climax, and it will going to end in 1 or 2 chapters. Jujutsu Kaisen. Chapter 267 was incredibly amazing. We got to see the mystery behind Sukuna's finger being tackled. At the end of the last chapter, we got to see Sukuna's finger inside some kind of shrine. It wasn't clear as to who this finger belonged to, but this mystery solved in this chapter, we finally know that this finger belonged to none other than Sukuna. The finger that Yuta ate was actually that of Yuji, which is why Yuji was not using reverse cursed technique on his hand, as Yuta's copy of the shrine would essentially have been erased, as was explained by him in the chapter. In this chapter, we saw Sukuna's last finger was in possession of the sorcerers. Yuta suggested eating the finger so that he could get access to his shrine and utilize some incredibly powerful techniques. Gojo believed having a direct link to Sukuna would come in handy at some point in the battle. Meanwhile, Gojo comes with another plan for Yuta to gain the shrine. He asked him to consume Yuji's finger, and because Yuji is like a cursed object drenched in Sukuna's technique, having even the shrine engraved in his body, this would work as well. Essentially, Yuji's finger was consumed by Rika, which gave Yuta access to Sukuna's shrine. Meanwhile, Sukuna's finger was kept safe in order to maintain a link to his body. Finally, this mystery was solved, and even it opened up the space for the second act, which was quite the most exciting part of the entire chapter. After figuring out that Yuji gave his finger to Yuta, and that his own finger was somewhere else, Sukuna decided to engage him in close-range combat. But this time, Yuji dominates Sukuna much more. This is not much of a surprise as Yuji is inside his domain, and there, his stats get a big boost, as explained by Gojo right at the beginning of the series. Yuji unleashed a powerful barrage of punches on the King of Curses, and even though he did receive some damage as well, he is determined to break Sukuna, especially after seeing Megumi Fushiguro fight back against him. Meanwhile, we see some cutbacks to the shrine where Sukuna's finger was hung. There, Gakuganji and Utahime were showcased, discussing the indestructible status of Sukuna's finger. While the finger certainly is indestructible, it doesn't mean that it can't be used to transfer damage to the main body, especially with a binding vow. This is why Gojo wanted to keep a link to his real body hidden somewhere. This just goes to show how smart Gojo truly is, and how he foresaw these events long before the battle in Shinjuku even began. Then we saw a mysterious individual appeared and joined the battlefield. In the next panel, this mysterious individual is none other than the Nobara. Yes, it's true, JJK Chapter 267 finally saw the return of Nobara Kugisaki, much against all odds. We were not expecting her to return in the story at all, especially because it was announced that the series was wrapping up in 5 chapters rather recently. Regardless, Nobara has finally returned. In this chapter, we saw Nobara take action against the King of Curses. Moments after waking up from her long sleep, Nobara joined the battlefield and used her straw doll technique, utilizing the power of resonance to deal damage to Sukuna. Meanwhile, on the real battlefield, Sukuna was about to open his domain, which is when Nobara struck. Essentially, he faced so much damage that he could not expand his domain anymore. At the same time, Yuji realized that Nobara was alive and well, because he recognized the technique that had dealt damage to the King of Curses. This pumped him up even more, and allowed him to land a powerful black flash on the King of Curses, dealing deadly damage to him, and in the process, having him cough up some fingers as well. Sukuna might have lost anywhere between 1 to 3 fingers in this chapter, which means that he is weakening tremendously, and should be even weaker than he was in Shibuya. This essentially means that Yuji has every tool with him to wrap up this battle, and Megumi will start to fight back even more, which essentially confirms that this battle has all but wrapped up and will likely conclude in JJK Chapter 268.